Toronto-Waterloo corridor has been named one of the North America's largest tech clusters.
This region is often called the Silicon Valley of the North, and Kitchener, the largest city in the municipality of Waterloo, was the fastest-growing metropolitan area in Ontario.
What is it that makes this location so desirable?
Let's explore Kitchener and Waterloo area and decide whether it stands up to the hype.
Discuss the culture and vibe of the city, its economy, job opportunities, and of course the cost of living.
Let's go.
Many people refer to Kitchener and Waterloo jointly, as they are close by, just a 10-minute drive, and are considered twin cities. Add Cambridge to this mix and a few small townships, and that's what is called Regional Municipality of Waterloo.
Located about 100 kilometers west of Toronto, the Waterloo region has a population of nearly 670,000 people. This also includes a large number of university and college students, since the city is primarily known for some of the best tech schools in the country.
This makes the region the 10th largest metropolitan area in Canada, but has it always been this way?
Found in 1916, Kitchener was initially known as Berlin, which is the nickname given to this town back in 1833 in honor of the capital of Prussia and later the German Empire. A few years later, the First World War started, and the name Berlin was no longer favorable.
The German vibes don't just stop here. We noticed that the city is very tidy, well-maintained, clean, and the road design just makes sense. We all heard about the problem overall in Canada that there is a missing middle, mid-rise houses. Here in Kitchener and Waterloo, I feel like it's very comfortable to be in the city. It's very cozy, especially because there are a lot of mid-rise houses here. Those are the houses from like 3 to 6, 7 stories. They're not too tall, so they're not super oppressive when you're walking down the street, but at the same time they provide this perfect density of population, and you can see people walking down the streets, chatting, interacting with each other, and you feel the sense of community better. All the intersections, bike lanes, it's pretty intuitive, and unlike many other Canadian cities.
We don't mean to stereotype, but we can definitely see the influence of the German love for order here.
Throughout the 19th and 20th century, there were high levels of settlement by German-speaking immigrants, and up to this day the city has a strong German influence, with this beer-loving nation making up nearly 18% of the city's population, followed by English, Irish, Scottish, Canadian, French, East Indian, Polish, Dutch, Italian, Portuguese, Chinese, and Ukrainian.
Speaking of beer, Kitchener hosts the world's largest Oktoberfest celebration outside of Germany. It is held every October, starting on the Friday before Canadian Thanksgiving and running until the Saturday after. So make sure to visit if you're in Ontario and love Oktoberfest.
The 20th century was also the time of the region's fast growth, mainly thanks to the automotive and manufacturing industry boom in the region. The second boom happened in the early 2000s, when the University of Waterloo launched several initiatives establishing the region as the research and technology hub of Canada. That's when things started going uphill. As the years passed by, there were several unsuccessful attempts to combine the municipalities of Kitchener and Waterloo into one, but it never really happened. Probably because the motto of Waterloo is just one word: stability. That too sounds like another German value. Geographically, Kitchener and Waterloo are located in southwestern Ontario in the Grand River Valley, just about 2 hours drive from Toronto, if traffic isn't too bad, which usually it is. If you were to take the GO train, it can get you to Kitchener in just 1 hour and 50 minutes. But unfortunately, direct trains do not travel here frequently enough. The Kitchener line is also currently a one-way line and is being rebuilt into a two-way line. And who knows how long that's going to take, knowing Canada. In the meantime, you can expect delays and service disruptions from time to time.
The city itself boasts the new LRT system, which extends all the way from the north end of Waterloo to the south end of Kitchener, with ambitions to extend it all the way to Cambridge. But it might take at least 7 years to plan and build it.
In terms of highways, Kitchener is conveniently connected to the American largest hubs like New York, Chicago, Detroit, and Boston.
And another thing that people in Kitchener complain about is, funny enough, climate. It's colder here because you're further from the lake.
Now tell me, which city in Canada does not get this complaint, ever?
The city is about 65 kilometers away from Lake Ontario, but the lake has much less influence on the region's climate than other cities like Hamilton, Guelph, or Milton. The frost-free period for Kitchener averages about 147 frost-free days a year. That's nearly 5 months of nice with above zero temperatures. That's a much lower number than cities on the Great Lakes. All this is because the city is much more inland and has a higher elevation.
Kitchener enjoys a humid continental climate with quite large seasonal and temperature differences, which most of Canadians are pretty much used to. Summers here are warm and humid, and winters are cold. But not too cold. Winters usually start here at around mid-December and last until mid-March, and summer starts around mid-May and lasts all the way through September. So today we are in mid-October actually, and it's sunny and it's warm. It's actually so warm that I want to take off my jacket. So the temperature is 12 degrees now, but I'm pretty sure it's actually higher now.
So, unlike the real Silicon Valley, here you can definitely experience all 4 seasons. And you will need a winter jacket for the winters, but t-shirts and shorts for the hot summers.
Let's agree there is no escaping winters in Canada. So we believe it is crucial for the city to offer fun winter activities, and Kitchener-Waterloo area doesn't disappoint. In winter, Kitchener-Waterloo has plenty of stuff going on. You can hit the nearby ski resorts like Chicopee Park or the Blue Mountains. If you're not into skiing or snowboarding, Chicopee Park also has thrilling tubing runs, and Blue Mountains has a top-rated Nordic spa. If you'd rather stay in town, you can pick up skates and glide around the city's largest outdoor skating rink at Waterloo Public Square.
If you prefer to stay indoors, there is no shortage of museums, conferences and food joints. For instance, the museum here is an experiential museum offering annual captivating exhibitions for all ages.
The TriCon is the region's largest pop culture and cosplay event. And when it comes to food, there is practically a new food festival or event every month of the year. Or you can always hit up the Kitchener Market, which is one of the oldest consistently operating food markets in Canada.
Another notable fun place to be in is McLennan Park, which used to be a landfill, but since has been transformed into an adventure spot with great hills for tobogganing and trails for hiking. If you're into nature and outdoors, there are plenty of nearby conservation areas like the Laurel Creek and Shades Mill. And of course, you get the majestic Bruce Peninsula that's just 3 hours away.
So if you ask people about why they don't like Kitchener, there's usually 3 main themes that come out. So one is lack of entertainment. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it depends on what city you compare Kitchener-Waterloo to. If you compare it to Toronto or Montreal, then yes, of course, Kitchener is smaller, hence the amount of festivals and entertainment options would be restricted. But if you compare Kitchener to where we live,
Or any other smaller town around Toronto or outside Toronto,
then Kitchener would definitely win.
I think there's no lack of entertainment if you're looking for it. And given the fact that it's a very much student-oriented city, there's plenty of stuff to do because those young folks do need to keep entertained quite a bit.
Economy of Kitchener and Waterloo is diverse. The region's manufacturing sector is the 4th largest in Canada, employing over 60,000 people across 1,800 companies with annual revenues exceeding $6 billion. That's nearly 20% of the region's GDP.
Aerospace industry is also big here, with the 3rd largest in Canada in terms of employment.
Other key employment sectors in the region are automotive industry and food processing.
So, Anastasia, what is it that makes Kitchener-Waterloo the Silicon Valley of the North?
Well, simply put, the Toronto-Waterloo region is the largest tech cluster outside of the Silicon Valley. It's even bigger than Boston, Seattle, or even New York. This region is home to over 15,000 companies, 5,000 startups, and 300,000 employees. And all of that makes up 8% of all employment in this region. That's a huge number. This place is home to BlackBerry, Applyboard, Wish. These are just some of the big names that came out of Waterloo. In fact, one of 5 startup founders came out of the University of Waterloo. The 20th century was the time of the fast growth in the region, specifically thanks to the manufacturing and automotive boom. The second boom happened in early 2000s when the University of Waterloo established a hub in research and technology right here. That's when things started going uphill. How does that all happen? Well, it's all thanks to this big facility, the University of Waterloo. This is the brightest star of the region. According to the most prestigious education ranking publications, University of Waterloo ranks 23rd in the world in computer science and technology, and 7th overall in Canada. Interestingly, it doesn't score in the top 5 in either category, yet it shines very bright here in Canada.
And the reason why it shines so bright is because this is the real Silicon Valley top recruitment schools. It graduates thousands of top engineering and computer science talents every year. Google, Amazon, Microsoft routinely hire and prefer Waterloo graduates. And it is pretty standard for graduates of this school to graduate with at least 1 year of experience in one of top tech companies. In recent years, Canada has become one of the most popular hiring sources for American companies, all thanks to cheap labor and technology tax incentives.
The University of Waterloo is the Canada's top artificial intelligence research institute. It also has Canada's largest university-based automotive research facility. And if that's not enough, this university also has the world's largest concentration of math and computer science students. This technology sectors also make up the largest sectors in the Waterloo region by the economic activity. The aggressive international student enrollment is mostly responsible for such a fast population growth in the region.
But it's not just the University of Waterloo. Wilfrid Laurier University is known for its business and music education.
And also the Conestoga College. It's a private college that recently received a lot of fire for excessive international student admission. Chasing more money, they abused the international student program, stretched their academic standards, and simply turned into a diploma mill. At least that's what their students state online. Such an influx of the international student population does leave a mark, especially on the housing and the cost of living in this region.
And while so many students come here to study, how many actually stay?
Another reason why people dislike Kitchener is they say that it has grown a little too fast and the cost of living has become too high.
But take it with a grain of salt, because it's all relative. Because if you compare it to Toronto again, I would say that Toronto is much more expensive and unaffordable and is growing much faster.
And I think you get much worse quality of homes for the same price in Toronto compared to here. And again, as always, in every city, downtown is always the most expensive. Especially here, because downtown is where all the students stay. But the moment you drive just 5-10 minutes out, things are starting to look a lot more interesting. And we're going to talk about this later in the cost of living section.
While Kitchener is more expensive than another Canadian city of a comparable size, it is still relatively affordable compared to another major Canadian tech hub, Toronto. So, many consider Kitchener-Waterloo a good alternative escape from the overpriced and overcrowded Toronto.
On average, the cost of living in Kitchener is 10 to 15% lower than in Toronto, especially when we talk about dining out, groceries, and general bill.
These are the estimated monthly costs for a family of 4 and a single person. This includes utilities, transit, groceries, and other expected everyday expenses.
Rent is 30% lower than Toronto, while salaries are more or less identical, well, maybe lower by less than 10% at times compared to the big neighbor.
According to the latest reports, the average cost of renting a one-bedroom apartment in the city center is around $2,000 per month, while a 3-bedroom apartment costs around $3,000. This is comparable to the outskirts of Toronto, and the reason for that is the influx of international students who generally prefer sticking to downtown areas due to public transit convenience, and they want to be closer to the university campuses. So renting outside the city centers of Kitchener, Waterloo, and Cambridge will be more affordable affordable if you're not a student, or maybe even if you are a student and willing to travel more.
Average household income before taxes is $95,000 and a median single employment income is $65,000, which is pretty impressive comparing to nationwide numbers, especially given the cost of living in the region. This salary is on par with cities like Ottawa and Calgary and offers a much more affordable living environment compared to Toronto or Vancouver.
If you're curious about more detailed salary information by occupation, you can check out the wage reports on the Job Bank website. And if you don't fully trust that, simply browse through the region's job boards like LinkedIn, Monster, or Indeed. Ontario has recently made it mandatory for employers to disclose salaries on the job postings, and many employers have already implemented this practice.
Overall, we were pleasantly surprised by Kitchener and how well engineered the city is.
It is still a car-centric city.
Yeah, well, we are still in North America, but everything from road intersections to bike lanes to public transit lines, everything runs smoothly, especially in downtown area. And it feels like smart development and smart investment is driving the city's development.
Another thing that we absolutely loved is its people. They're friendly, open, and welcoming. It is a student-centric city, so it could be a good or a bad thing depending on how you look at it. In the summer, the city gets empty, so if you don't like students, that's the best time to be around in the city. And all the other seasons, it's actually really lively. It's Saturday and we were actually expecting for the campus to be completely empty and people hanging out in the city, but in fact it's the opposite. Everybody's here. It's so lively. It's amazing. We've been to Kitchener 4 or 5 times so far, and every time we're here it's just like a breath of fresh air compared to where we live in Durham region. There's so much to do, there's great pubs and bars and restaurants, and there's always something fun happening outdoors. There's a lot of nice spaces where people can hang out and have fun, no matter the weather.
Kitchener has many of the perks that Toronto has to offer, but with a more affordable cost of living. And with a median age of 38, this city has a lively, young and vibrant energy.
Lastly, the region offers great career opportunities, and if you like Toronto specifically because of the opportunities, I think you might like Kitchener, especially if you're in technology, because it's a large technology hub with a lot of startups and also established tech companies having their headquarters here. So it is a really exciting city to be for young professionals. The local business environment is really supportive here, with a lot of investment communities and opportunities and a really strong startup accelerator culture. So there might not be a better city to launch a startup than here, actually.
And if you're a family considering to move to Kitchener, there's definitely plenty to do here, and you don't need to be stuck in traffic for 2 hours. Everything is close by and you can experience the great Canadian outdoors in just 1 hour drive.
Oh, and there's one more thing, guys. We have recently launched our own merch shop selling t-shirts, hoodies, and beanies with a Canadian theme. This new merch line is inspired by the spirit of Canada, and we'd like to celebrate Canada by wearing some of the symbols of it. So we've just recently designed a hoodie that depicts some of the Canadian animal symbols. It's meant to send a message for nature preservation and appreciation of the Canadian wilderness. So check it out in the links below and let us know what you think, or maybe let us know what other themes you would like for us to cover as a spirit of appreciation to Canada.
Thank you for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button below and subscribe for this channel for more content like this. And let us know in the comments below which city we should explore next.
And let us know if we missed something about Kitchener or Waterloo. We'd love to learn more about the cities because we really liked it. Waterloo is officially my favorite university because they're playing Quidditch here.